since the reasons for our existence are more valid than 1963. In October 1962, Uganda's first Prime Minister declared immediately after independence that we would become a member of the United Nations and therefore a member of UNESCO. And this was a response to the world wars that had a clear vision of achieving peace in the world. National commissions, ladies and gentlemen, in Article 7 of the UNESCO Constitution demands for the establishment of national commissions, and therefore in 1963, government of Uganda established Uganda National Commission for UNESCO. So these last 60 years have seen a lot of growth for UNATCOM, but also times in which its mandates have been harder to fulfill than in others. The first Secretaries General of UNATCOM did a tremendous job, considering that they had very little resources and very small staff. In this regard, I would like to recognize my predecessor, Mr. Augustine Omaro Kurut, that we call Papa. Papa, please stand up. He did a lot in his tenure. And together with former PS Xavier Francis Lubanga, who is also here, I'm happy to see you. They did a lot to ensure that the National Commission for UNESCO got adequate staff, because then it was a one-man department of the unit of the Ministry of Education. And that's how some of us found ourselves working with the National Commission for UNESCO. We are ever so grateful. You gave us jobs and you gave us an opportunity to serve this very good and wonderful organization. In 2007, Right Honorable, that is when it happened, and the space was open for us to join the commission. But in 2014, we got an act of Parliament establishing us as a semi-autonomous organization. And we achieved, to an extent, the operationalization of this act by having the board established. Members of the board of the NATCOM who are present, just raise your hands. I don't want to tire you. They are here, thinly represented, but I hope some are on the way. This is how far we went. And those are the achievements, technically, that we had operationally for the National Commission. But at the international level, I would like to share with you that Uganda has been on the UNESCO board, executive board. In 1974, we were there with Mr. Arthur Balunya. In 1998 and 2005, with Professor Eriabu Lugujo, who is also the board chair. Professor, you could just wave to the people. I know they will see you later. In 2013 again, we were elected to the executive board of UNESCO, and we had the late Dr. Eric Edroma, and later on, none other than Dr. Alan Birabi over here represented us very well. In 2009, ladies and gentlemen, we formed what we call the East African National Commission's capacity building program. And Uganda served as secretariat for 10 years. and we hosted the first meeting in Uganda. And under our leadership, we managed to do a round of 6 program capacity building activities for our East African SGs and National Commission in the area. So I think it is worth recognizing. In 2010, Right Honorable and dear esteemed guests, we hosted the 12th conference of the African National Commissions, and we had the Director General of UNESCO, Madame Irina Bokova herself, attend this important meeting. Now, to support Uganda in its mission to educate Uganda's youth and marginalized people in the spirit of leaving no one behind, the National Commission for UNESCO has been a major player in Uganda's education system. In 1971 and 1979, UNESCO supported and assisted the establishment of a planning unit in the Ministry of Education and Sports and provided equipment to Makerere University to boost its training and research capacity. Those of you who went to Makerere University during that time, you must have seen furniture, equipment, lab apparatus labeled UNESCO. This was the time of putting Uganda at its foot after independence to achieve the education that was needed at the time. Between 1973 and 1979, UNESCO supported the setting up of the National Curriculum Development Center. And between 1973 and 1979, UNESCO contributed to the development of technical teacher training at UTC Chambogo and NTC Chambogo. Between 1989 and 1992, UNESCO provided invaluable support to the Education Review Policy Commission that produced a report out of which a government white paper emerged. In 2013, ladies and gentlemen, there was a study launched, and I would like, I don't know whether Honorable Bitamazire has managed to come. Has she come? But the son, you glorify in your mom, okay? The son is here, and the son is the Vice Chancellor of Uganda Matters University in Kozi. Thank you for being here in your own capacity and on behalf of your mom. Honorable Bitamazire then knew the importance of having UNESCO's intervention in teachers' issues, and she urged us with Mr. Okurut then to have TISA in Uganda. And when TISA came into Uganda, a study was conducted, and out of this study, teacher issues were unearthed. Teacher issues from showing interest, expressing interest in teaching, enrollment in training, training as teachers, deployment, etc. And the recommendations are beginning to show fruit, Right Honorable. It's one of the biggest things we are proud of because it has changed the face of the teacher in Uganda. We now have a comprehensive national teachers policy that is being operationalized. We have the teacher management information system to strengthen teacher records and teacher information. We have the teacher competence profile for early childhood development, primary and secondary schools. So all these came out of this study, and this is basically how UNESCO works, because UNESCO is an intellectual organization. In the natural sciences program, Right Honorable, we have had some tremendous and tangible things to show. In 1979, Queen Elizabeth was recognized by UNESCO as an international biosphere reserve with a Ramsar site. It has the greatest biodiversity under protection in Uganda. And when these sites are recognized, the promotion of coexistence between animals and humans is promoted to ensure there is conservation and not depletion of the environment. In 1988, UNESCO, under the UNESCO Chairs program, granted seed money to recruit a professor to assist Makerere University draw out a program to support the establishment of the Department of Food Science and Technology to teach and conduct research in food science and technology-related activities. This department has become Uganda's leading center for training and research in food sciences, food technology, and human nutrition. In 1993, Mount Elgon was recognized by UNESCO as a biosphere reserve. At 4,000 kilometers, Mount Elgon has the world's largest volcanic base and is the oldest and largest solitary volcanic mountain in East Africa. It is the home of 300 species of birds and variety of wildlife, home to the Bagisu, the Sabinj, the marginalized Ndoboros, and the Benet tribes. And Right Honorable Prime Minister, recently, 2 months ago, Mount Elgon was gazetted as a transboundary biosphere reserve. We share it with Kenya, and therefore this lifts the conservation efforts greater. And I'm sure Uganda is going to be the biggest beneficiary of this intervention, because when you come to our side of Mount Elgon, it is the most depleted. We have landslides, we have fewer animals. But when you go to the other side of Kenya, all the animals, they have never had landslides. So we believe having it as a transboundary will make it conserved, and maybe these catastrophes will cease to occur. In 1994, Rwenzori Mountain National Park and Bwindi Impenetrable Forest were inscribed as World Heritage Sites. And in 1997, we had other sites on the tentative list: Bigo, Byamugenyi, Kiwiro Salt-Producing Village, Intusi Man-Made Mounds and Basin, and Ngero Rocks in eastern Uganda. There is more. Mugahingi Gorilla National Park was put on the tentative list of World Heritage Sites, and this we hope can come soon, because I have seen Rwanda has acquired one in the recent World Heritage Convention, so we hope we can push for ours too. Ladies and gentlemen, we have 5 program areas. I've just talked about education and natural science. Under the social and human science, between 2005 and 2019, UNESCO supported the integration of human rights and peace education in Uganda's education system for promoting the peaceful coexistence in pursuit of Uganda's commitment towards implementation of the World Programme for Human Rights. In 1994, we had the intervention of strengthening professional contribution to HIV and AIDS prevention and control strategies, and this led to the establishment, through a memorandum of cooperation, of a twinning program between Makerere University and Johns Hopkins University under the UniTwin program of UNESCO. And this was aimed at human resources and institutional capacity building for youth, health, and development of Uganda, with a focus on the girl-child within the framework of HIV and AIDS research and prevention. Under culture, ladies and gentlemen, Kasubi Tombs, you all know, is a World Heritage Site, and this was established in 2001. Kasubi Tombs was gutted by fire in 2010, and therefore it was put in the World Heritage Site in danger. And the National Commission since then was pushing to have some reconstruction take place and therefore remove it from the list of heritage in danger. You may have already read in your in the media that in the sitting meeting of the World Heritage Committee in Riyadh, now they are still sitting. 2 weeks ago, Kasubi Tombs was removed from the list of heritage in danger. And that makes it, we are back on track, and very soon, I'm sure, we shall not have that title. We shall have it back as our heritage site. So this has been possible because UNATCOM was involved in the planning, in the negotiation. We have Mr. Kawesi, the program officer for culture, who sat on that committee. Kawesi, this is time for you to shine. If you are not there, you will miss the shining. Then the backcloth making, Honorable, Right Honorable, you know the backcloth. I'm sure you have it among your people. The backcloth is a very unique fabric, you know. In 2008, it was put on the list of the intangible cultural heritage of humanity because there's a lot that goes beyond just the cloth. There's a lot of heritage that we don't see. There are a lot of rituals that we don't see, but it was therefore proclaimed, and we have it as an item that is honored by UNESCO. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a program of cities, UNESCO cities, and I would like to let you know that out of the 10 cities we have, recently we got Masaka, Gulu, and Lira become UNESCO Global Network of Learning Cities. And we have two, I don't know whether Masaka is here, but at least I met the mayor of Lira. Please stand up for recognition and shine. He's there, Honorable Atul Sam. We have Honorable Okwonga of Gulu City. These are proud mayors because they are mayors of UNESCO learning cities. They therefore become members of the global coalition of learning cities. But to add to that, we were recently in Rabat, Right Honorable, and we have formed the Alliance of African Learning Cities. So our 3 cities are pioneer members of the African Learning Cities. So thank you very much, and thank you for identifying with us. Under communication and information, we boast of community multimedia centers that were established in 1997. These facilitate communication and access to information and learning resources in rural areas. In Uganda here, ladies and gentlemen, we have Buama, we have Nakaseke, we have Kachwekano, we have Kagadi, we have Ngora, and we have Naweru. And these are functioning, and they have been able to cause learning, especially during the time of COVID. Learners would go to the library, the radios were used to broadcast lessons, and many others during COVID, during Ebola, they shared information that enhanced livelihood. Ladies and gentlemen, it is also sufficient to note that in the 60 years of our existence, we acquired a new responsibility of being secretariat to ISESCO. I don't know whether Professor Mpeza is here, but Professor Mpeza represents us on the Executive Council. Now, ISESCO and Right Honorable, you should get interested in this one. ISESCO is the Islamic World Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization. And it has the same programs running as UNESCO. So it was under the wisdom of our good father, Mr. Lubanga, who said, but why should we establish another secretariat when we have the National Commission still, growing? So can you take up the mantle? And Papa said yes, and we took up the mantle, and we are secretariat, and we are achieving good milestones as secretariat of ISESCO. In all these achievements, Right Honorable guest, third Prime Minister, the National Commission has diligently played its role of liaison, of coordinating, of negotiating, of initiating, and giving accountability to both government of Uganda and UNESCO. Those are just a few highlights. There are more of 60 years of advancing ideas that have shaped Uganda for peace and sustainable development. So going forward, 60 plus, peace and sustainable development are still an item to deal with, and it therefore makes both UNESCO and UNATCOM and ISESCO more relevant than ever before. We are aware that our work is not done, but the last 60 years and our predecessors have taught us a lot, and the legacy of our first 60 years inspire our next 60 years. Honorable, since you are representing the fountain of honor, you are representing the President, allow me to use this very rare opportunity to tell you that we are aware that government is planning the restructure. RAPEX is going on, and come July 2014, it will be effected. Some agencies will be merged, others will be done away with. It has been recommended, and this comes sadly after 60 years, that the National Commission for UNESCO becomes a desk. We started as a desk in 1963, we grew to a department. Now the recommendation is that we become a desk. We understand it is cast on stone, nothing can be changed, but we only want to make one appeal, and we hope you can send this message. I can see you are listening keenly. We want to make one appeal. We note that this is a decision, but we do not want to lose our unique identity, which is actually constitutional because it is in UNESCO's legal instruments. Set up a National Commission for UNESCO, it should have a Secretary General, it should have program staff, and so on. So the structures we beg should remain as prescribed. If we are to remain the icon with this dual mandate, we have the national and international mandate. So for us, we want to pray that this is just a title, it is a name. And I would like to use a quotation from Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet. In Act 2, Scene 2, Juliet was asking about her background. She's being called a daughter of this family and therefore must not marry from this family or relate. Then Juliet says, "What is in a name?